Ray. How are you doing?
Good to have you back on the show.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, so let's talk about one of your favorite topics, innovation. Now, recently the city sponsored a regional innovation summit, which was something totally brand new for the city.
That's right.
Maybe for the region, actually.
That's right.
So give us a little background on how that came to be. Why a regional innovation summit, sort of some of the ins and outs behind the scenes decisions on why that was important for the city to take the lead.
Well, we're trying to look at transforming organizations, specifically local government. There's very complex issues, very difficult problems and challenges that we have. But internally, one of the things that we found out is we really, at least from the side of Salinas, is we want to be organized. We want to have the most or the best available information available so we can make the best decisions. So the idea behind the Innovation Summit was to gather or invite all of the local governments and bring them together and to talk about how they are changing or how they are trying to improve government to be more effective in providing services to their community. So, October 4th, we scheduled the Innovation Summit, and we reached out to about 12 different cities. And of those 12 cities, we had about 10 city managers, assistant managers. We had about 17 directors and police chiefs and fire chiefs, and then another 10 or so analysts and middle management. So it was a really good and a diverse set of people with a lot of interesting ideas. And the objective really was to provide a forum or a springboard to future engagements that would allow us to share best practices and share ideas. And so you would think that we all get together on a regular basis and share our successes and how we did things, but in this grand scheme of thing and with time commitments, that doesn't really happen. So this was a way to kind of prod our our regional cities to kind of collaborate a little bit more. And so that was the objective of this Innovation Summit. And we had a number of speakers that we brought in from all over to talk about various topics, from community engagement, from looking at benchmarking and performance analytics, and just essentially trying to make government run better. Really was the focus.
Right. So there were some national organizations like GovX, the Alliance on Innovation. Can you explain how they interacted with this concept of a regional innovation summit?
Absolutely. So we started off with we looked and we found a really great keynote speaker, I think, in Jennifer Robinson, who is a council member out of the town of Cary in North Carolina. But she also serves as the director of local government solutions for SAS, for SAS. So she was a unique person who sat on both sides of the dais. One, helping clients and other cities implement new ideas, technology, and innovative practices to have better government. And then she sat on the other side of the dais where she was actually on the council and making decisions from the political standpoint. So we brought her in because we thought she would have a very unique perspective on how to address these challenges in government. And she did a great keynote, turn, local government, and in the season of change, and how you can address these certain things. But we did have regionally, we did have Government for Excellence out of Johns Hopkins University, which is part of a Bloomberg Foundation, and Lena Garrity was the participant there, and she came to provide some of the expertise that they've been working on, or some of the I wouldn't call it teaching curriculum, but they do provide workshops and capacity building for staff, learning opportunities for local government staff, specific to processing data, performance analytics, and how do you collect information. And so, everyone just assumes that every government agency, like on TV, has access to every information, bits of information that's out there. And although we would like to have that, it's a little bit further, that's kind of far from the truth. So most agencies are still trying to collect real-time information. But then once you collect it, you need to know what to do with it.
Right.
How do we speed up fixing potholes? How do we provide more farm worker housing, affordable housing? How do we reduce traffic? How do we try to reduce homelessness? So these are very difficult, complex problems that there's no easy solution. And to do that, you really do need to have all the information and also expertise on how to analyze the data.
Right. So ultimately, the goal of the Innovation Summit was to make government run better, to actually look at ideas, share innovations, or share new ideas that might work, and then exchange those, test them out. But ultimately, it is for the citizen, for the community. You mentioned a number of different issues like homelessness, farm worker housing. I mean, the pothole that needs to be fixed right away, not yesterday or tomorrow. I mean, so it's really focused on our citizens.
You know, Jennifer, I think, had a great idea about setting up an innovation plan, strategic plan, which is kind of this pyramid where you start with a vision, right, and you kind of work your way down. At the end of the day, it's looking at kind of forecasting objectives, actionable items, also looking at measurables, and then anticipated outcomes.
Right.
And so it really starts from the top, and the vision is we want to provide the best service possible to our residents in the city of Salinas, and hopefully fast.
Right.
So to do that, we can't do business as usual. We can't operate the same way we operated in the 1960s or the 1970s or even the 90s or early 2000s. Our residents expect results. They have their phones that they can get information at at their touch of a finger
Instantly, right?
Instantly, and so there's expectations that government should be able to do something similar or comparable, and I think that's the idea. So it's moving. Government is not known for moving fast, but we have to take the initiative and move forward. So the Innovation Summit was really about that, and having the ability to benchmark, and I think Kevin Knutson from Invisio talked about benchmarking at the summit, and he talked about how you can compare to other cities.
Right.
And so what are you guys doing for street sweeping? What are you doing for making more parking available? So looking at those measurables for benchmarking, we had Joel Carnes from Alliance for Innovation, who talked about incubation hubs, and so we've talked a little bit about that, about looking at technology clusters or innovation hubs within the city to spur economic development and provide additional higher paying jobs for residents. So I think all of these things in combined, we want to talk to other cities. What are you doing? What works? And how do we implement it? How does the city of Salinas implement that for our residents?
Right. So overall, was the summit successful?
I think it was. And so we got a lot of really positive feedback. We were able to post a lot of the results online, the presentations, our open data portal, which we now have. We put a lot of that, those out there available. And so, and we came away with some survey responses from our participants on what worked, what didn't work, what would you like to see, and moving forward. And coincidentally, we got a lot of feedback from people who want to continue moving forward with this, which was a secondary goal of this summit, which was to start the conversation to look at these regional problems and bring our regional sister cities, together, so that we can try and solve some of these bigger problems. Homelessness it doesn't end at the city boundaries.
Right.
Affordable housing, farm worker housing, workforce housing doesn't end at the city boundaries. So these things need to be looked at on a much broader strategic, in a strategic way. Otherwise, we'll never get on top of these things.
Right.
But yeah, I had a chance to talk to the city of Gilroy and the city of Palo Alto, and they're interested in moving forward and developing regional interest groups that revolve around training of staff, providing more information or ideas of providing information to cities, specifically to parking, specifically to, as an example, city of Palo Alto. I talked to them, and they have a very innovative smart city initiative that looks at parking so that there are sensors available so that you could open an app and find out where the congested areas are and where you might be able to find parking easily depending on the time of day. And I know in some areas of our city, especially in the residential areas, the parking is a premium. And so coming up with innovative ways to address those problems, I think would be really helpful to the residents. But coincidentally enough, Palo Alto is not tracking information about their tree trimming. So they were very interested in what we were doing.
Really?
So there was an exchange there between parking, because we're not, we'd like to know more ideas about parking.
Right.
And they want to know ideas about, well, how are you tracking all of your trees and maintenance of trees and having more trees in your city? So I think it's those types of conversations, sharing of best practices and ideas, I think, leveraging what the city can do and instead of trying to reinvent the wheel in some things.
So enough feedback that says maybe a second innovation summit should happen.
Yes.
Salinas in the lead.
Yes.
So tell us what kind of things you're doing or how we're interacting with the other participants that attended, maybe some additional partners for the future, for the second Innovation Summit. So planning has to start now, right?
It does, yeah. Well, I'm excited to say that over the last month, we've been working with the city of Gilroy, and they really they like us are looking at this as a long term. It's not a one-off. It's not something you're going to do once and then suddenly everyone is, an expert. And so it's something that needs to be ingrained and be in the culture of a city, of this constantly training, constantly working and trying to get more information, better information, and analyze that information so that we can make our best decisions. So we then floated this back to GovX, and coincidentally enough, they have a granting program that they offered to come here in 2019 and kick off, which would be a start of a program of this collaborative regional summits, workshops, however you want to define it. And so we're in the process of hopefully getting that advertised very soon, which will be in March 13th, I believe. And this is really a great opportunity to have that as a catalyst for not just the city of Salinas, but also Monterey County, actually the Tri-County area, and Santa Clara, I guess, if you want, we're reaching that far, to bring people together and get them trained. And so it's nice to have some funding to make that happen, but we're looking at it also long-term and what's sustainable and what we can do for the staff at Salinas so that they can be better prepared to help the residents in the city of Salinas.
Right. So you meant GovX also has a lot of support from Bloomberg Philanthropies. And we've been, the city's been a beneficiary, if you will, on one of its programs for mid-sized cities.
That's right.
Right. So that combination, will we see Bloomberg back in the game, or are we trying to test them through the GovX? Or it seems to me that they've been a strong player in making sure local governments are setting themselves up to be creative, innovative, to use the best, latest technology or practices for improving their cities.
Yeah, and I think, so take a step back here and talk a little bit about who Bloomberg, the foundation, what they're about, and their What Works City. So Bloomberg is a very big nonprofit and philanthropy organization by Michael Bloomberg. But one of that facets is What Works Cities, and that's what the city of Salinas is about. And I think one of the key things that we saw actually when we went to New York and saw that workshop, that summit, and Michael Bloomberg speak, is that I think there certainly is dissatisfaction with federal government and kind of the politics in hand. And in even some cases, state government, at the way it's responding to the needs of the residents in the community. And really where a lot of the work is being done, where a lot of innovation is being done, where a lot of progress is being made, it's at the local level.
Right.
And so What Works Cities is about empowering these local governments to be more successful at what they're doing, because they see that there's a lot more impact. And so something goes on in the U.S. Senate or Congress, you don't always see the results of whatever is going on there. But when that pothole gets, or you get a new street in front of your house, that's impact. There's some impact there.
Right.
Or you have a new, trees or sidewalks or whatever the things that may be happening. You feel that impact, and so I think being involved with the What Works Cities organization, being a member of that, has really propelled Salinas to move kind of up its game. And yes, moving forward, Bloomberg is the philanthropy is re-engaging with What Works Cities. They provided additional money. There is a new round coming up. They want to work with the certification process, get cities certified by certain criteria, which the city of Salinas will be applying for. But more importantly, re-engaging with those cities.
Great.
And helping them work through some of the issues at hand that they have, like the ones we've already discussed with housing and homelessness and all of the big infrastructure demands and needs. And how can we do that rapidly, efficiently, and effectively? And so I think this, the residents of Salinas should be happy about that we're engaging with this much larger organization with many cities, because we can learn a lot from what others have done, whether it's Kansas City or whether it's Fresno or Modesto, all of these other cities who are involved to try and meet their needs, because that's really what we're here for. We have a lot of staff members who are really, really passionate about helping the community. They actually they enjoy helping the community. They feel it's a service, that they're providing a great service, and they want to do more, and they want to do have better results. So this is one of the things that we're trying to do internally. It's a little bit of inside baseball, so it doesn't seem very glamorous, but at the end of the day, when you get your sidewalk fixed a little bit faster, or you get some more trees in there, or have better roads, you'll be appreciative about some of this background work that's going on.
Right. So you mentioned analytics, performance indicators. Those are the kind of things that sort of are the accountability part of the innovation. How well you're doing, how well you're performing.
Yes.
What are the results?
Yes.
So that seems to be a piece that really is important. And it's important because the public needs to know, what are you doing? And you did have a new street. How'd you do that, and how do you measure whether or not that's effective? Do you spend too much money on that, or were you really efficient and effective in getting that new street in front of my house? Paved
on budget, on time.
Budget, exactly. So
I think everything that I do or my staff does, I hold them accountable for what they're doing, and then I'm held accountable to my director.
Yeah.
The director's held, you hold them, and then eventually it comes back to city council, right? And then council, of course, is representing our residents from each district. So accountability needs to go from bottom up, top down, everywhere. And so but having a scorecard.
Yes.
Or a grade, everyone goes to school and you get your report card. Here it is. How are you doing in your English class or social studies class? Most cities need to have that, because I think it's not only a level of accountability, it also provides transparency. And I think a lot of our residents, I wouldn't say a lot of them, but I know, there's some residents who have voiced their opinion that they don't know what we're doing.
Great.
We're not providing them with information. We're hiding something. We're being upfront. We're not being upfront with them. And so I think we need to continually be putting forth efforts to be more transparent, to show them what we're doing. But also it makes folks really think about what they're doing.
Great.
So if you know you're going to be graded, if you know you're going to be held accountable, you think twice about, well, do we really need to do this? Is this really a good use of our money? Can we do this a better way? And so I think in general it's to everyone's benefit. And so this is something new that we're going to be trying. This will be something that we hope to be rolling out within the next 6 months to be
Great.
available to not only our council, but also, and you, of course, but also the public,
Right.
where they can go and look somewhere and they can look at a dashboard online and kind of look at
Yeah.
the grades, so
Right.
to speak, of their various departments.
Right.
And so when we talk about how many trees did you plant,
Right. Right.
we can show that.
Right.
Or when we talk about the Alisal Vibrancy Plan, we can show people where that is. And farm worker housing, we can show people where we're at, how much progress we're making.
Right.
Because really we are accountable to our
Right.
residents.
Yeah. It's like the Salinas scorecard.
Salinas
How-
scorecard,
what would
I like
your
that.
score?
There
Yeah.
we go. We've got a title for it already.
So, in building for the next innovation summit,
Yes.
there are some steps along the way. You mentioned, that we've got a springboard now with the first summit. So, how do you see the second summit shaping up, and what will be some trending items or topics that could be discussed, or at least you're thinking about for the next? I would assume it'll be in the fall of 2019.
Yeah, I think we'll reach out again to the participants and send out some more surveys. But the first thing that has jumped out has been community engagement, which the city does. We put a lot of effort
Right.
into that. We expend a lot of staff time in community engagement and trying to reach out to our neighborhoods and residents in various venues to get their opinion on how we're doing certain projects. Whether it's downtown, or whether it's the Alisal, or whether it's the Library and Parks Master
Right.
Plan, all of these things. So that's one area I think that'll be a focus. Another area of focus, which I thought was kind of funny, is data governance. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's great for me. I understand that.
Right.
But really, I think there's a lot of people a lot of cities struggling with. Even if we collect this data about traffic, what do we do with it?
Right.
If I have demographics for planning and I want to plan new housing or new businesses or change zoning to see if that encourages economic development, what do I do with this data? How do I do it? How do I analyze it? And so this whole idea about data governance and data analytics has
Right.
cropped up from a need from a lot of cities. And certainly the city of Salinas can do a better job at both of those areas. So I think those are two that come right out of the gate, or something that are needs for the region, and we'll keep continuing to ask folks out there what's the focus or the topics that you would like to focus on. But like I said, we work with the willing,
Right.
people who want to collaborate, people who
Right.
want to help out each other, people who want to share.
Right.
That's the important piece.
You've mainly focused on cities, and I think the summit was focused on cities.
It was.
What about other governments, county governments, school districts? Sometimes cities have the same clientele,
Yep.
the same customers,
Yes.
slightly different approaches in terms of how you solve issues or community problems, how you engage the community. So what's your thoughts on these other government agencies as part of the sort of that innovation push?
No, I think we started off with inviting just city managers,
Right,
and then
right,
encourage them to invite their staff.
Right.
But we wanted to see which cities would be interested,
Right.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, there are air districts, there are water districts, there are school districts, all of them that have their unique challenges. And so really, do they have the capacity to solve those, or address those challenges? And a lot of times the answer is no. So they do have to collaborate with whatever city they're working with. And so I think, absolutely, we want to get to a point where we are bringing in all of the players that affect these problems. Because once again, as I said, these are really big, difficult problems that are, multivariable, multiple facets, and there's no just do this and it solves your. If it was easy, we would have done it already.
Yeah.
What we have left are all the hard problems. And so
Yeah.
bringing in all the players is critical to try and solving these.
Seems to me that eventually we'll have to do that, because if you look at the problems, it's usually in a continuum of a system somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
You tweak this part of the system, you change that part of the system, you change the whole system.
That's right.
And how it performs. So tweaking this one thing all the time may not get the result overall if you can, make other tweaks in the system. The system's pretty large, as you say. It's pretty complex.
It is.
You just take homelessness. We're talking many different social economic issues,
Yeah. Health.
equity issues, you
Yep.
name it.
Yeah, mental health. Yeah, the whole. So, not to get too wonky and get too technical for folks, but yeah, when you look at these, you do have to look at the broad context of what these systems are. For instance, homelessness.
Right.
And we have a great, our housing director and homelessness, Anastasia. She's on top of a lot of these things, but you talk to her, and they're very big problems.
Right.
And I think from my perspective is I'm not an expert in any of these things. I don't, these are not my expertise. But what I do look at them is I look at them as very large systems. And the first thing you want to try and do is I don't need to know the very minute detail, but I do need to understand the broad context. Because what that allows you to do, if you look at the system, is it allows you to find areas where you can push something and get the most results.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So targeting those areas where, a business understands this, right? ROI, return on investment.
Right.
Like if I'm going to put in $1, am I going to get $2 back?
Right.
Or I'm going to get $1.50 back?
Right.
So it's a similar concept where you look at these large systems like homelessness and affordable housing. Where can we put our efforts? Where can we put our dollars that will have the most effect?
Yes.
And so we start there. And so to do that, you have to understand the system. And it's critical. So
Right.
Having staff with that mentality and that kind of institutional culture is really important for any city to have success on these large, complex problems. What I may think is a priority is absolutely not the priority. It is, the community wants something, wants a different priority. So making sure that we have everyone's input is really important. And I think, that's an embedded culture that we have at the
Right.
city of Salinas. We want to know what the citizens want us to focus on, I think.
Right.
And I think that goes from top down. Everyone's understanding that. We want to help. We want to help our residents.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, it's been great. A real pleasure to have you back on the show, and sounds like a lot of new initiatives and
Yeah.
a real focus on the innovation part of the organization is coming about finally.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's exciting.
We'll look forward to meeting up with you again soon on the show, and you can tell us more about the trainings, the regional training that's going on, what to expect in the next Innovation Summit by then. Lots of information. So we appreciate your time here, and thanks again for visiting with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.